everybody. Welcome to another edition of Shooting the with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Tonight's topic, I do believe, came to us from Clit in Seattle a week or so ago, and I'm finally getting around to it tonight. They want to know what's something that is generally missing from most either get-home bags or bug-out bags. Now, those are two totally different situations, but I'm basically saying, whichever philosophy you prescribe to. Do you keep a get-home bag in your car for if you're ever out somewhere and something happens, natural disaster, whatever, and the car is disabled and you got to get home on foot? That bag is going to help you survive. Or are you one of these people that subscribes to the idea that things are going to go bad and you're going to bug out and live in the wilderness? Whichever one of those you believe. I mean, the latter is kind of a fantasy, like a testosterone-fueled fantasy. But let's hear what you think is missing from most bags. And I'm going to say, I think what I would say is probably missing from most people's bags. And this is if it's a get-home bag. If it's something, you're going to be using to get from where you're at to where you're going. I would say make sure you have some cash in there. Not much, just maybe like some $20 bills or something. Because if you were ever in a bad situation, natural disaster, whatever, you never know when, hey, can I bribe you, might pay off in some ways. But, that's kind of a out there scenario. The one thing I think most people don't think about in natural disasters is clotting agents. Things to stop bleeding without having to put a tourniquet on you. I see a lot of people that are like, well, I don't need a clotting agent. I got a tourniquet. Well, no tourniquet. You put that on your leg because your shin is gashed open and you're going to lose your leg by the time you get home. So get yourself some clotting agent and bandages. I see so many people don't have clotting agents in their bags. You definitely should have it. That's for bug out or get home. So that's one of the things I think a lot of people don't think about are clotting agents, things you apply externally to stop bleeding so that you don't have to end up losing your leg because of a tourniquet. So that's my answer. So let's go over and see what other people got to say. Now, before I read their answers, I want to remind everyone that this is a restricted channel now. So if you are someone who wants to keep up with the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit that select all for notifications so that you'll actually be notified. Maybe when we do something, I can't guarantee it since we are a restricted channel, but you got a better chance that way. Also, if you want to support the channel by buying merchandise or becoming a channel member, go on over to TYMPpistolproject.com. You can get stuff over there like the What Could Go Wrong? This is the Don't Point Your Glock at Your Cock shirt. You can get stuff like this. You can get stuff like the first American flag design here, or you can become a Patreon member or a Subscribe Star member. Remember, even if it's just $1 or $2 a month, it can go a long way to help pets in need, because if enough people do a little, it adds up to a lot. So don't undersell your contribution. So let's get over here now after I've done the spiel and read what other people got to say. Sean Bain said water and a less than lethal option. Do knives count as less than lethal? If I just stab them a little bit, of course, I think everybody knows if I draw a knife, if you're attacking me and I draw a knife, the best thing to do is just stand back and let me injure myself or kill myself, because that's what's most likely going to happen if I try to fight with a knife. I'm not good with sharp objects. But does that count? Because I got a knife in there. I don't think I have any less than lethal. I should have my taser in there. I got a taser in the car. It's not in the bag, though. I got one in the car. One of those ones that looks like the blasters from Star Trek. Who made that one? I forget who made it, but I got it. Johnny Mandrick chimed in, says, just redid my bag, so it's good. I do need a plan for the cats, though. With 4, it is now tougher. Do other people have pet plans? Well, I'll tell you, you got to have at least a pet cage that you can put in your car. So that you can throw the cats and stuff in, because if I ever bug out and it's by vehicle, well, then yes, the dogs and cats are going with me. If I have to bug out individually or on foot, well, the dogs at least are going to go with me. I would love to be able to take the cats. It's going to be a little hard to take the cats. I would hope they would follow me, but I don't think they would. I'd make sure they weren't stuck in the house, like if there's fire coming or something, so they can run for it. But and I'd try to carry them as far as I could. But yeah, you got to be prepared for your animals. You got to have food for the animals in your and everything. So if you're going to bug out with your animals, you got to be prepared for it. Getting home is not as big an issue unless you got your dog out with you. That if you're someone who travels around a lot with your dog in the car with you, well, then make sure you have stuff for them when you go too. Maybe you got a little fold out bowl so you can give them water, maybe some food in your bag for them, not just you. Maybe get something that you can both eat so that if it was an emergency, either one of you could eat it. There are stuff like that. Big jerky. Your dog would love to eat some jerky. I'm sure my dog loves jerky. But yeah, pets that's the thing I worry about most is pets. When we had the bug out because of the fire, we had to go stay in a hotel room with 2 dogs and 2 cats. That was fun. Especially Django freaking out anytime anybody did anything in the hallway. So, but they were being very forgiving that night because they knew a lot of the people that were there because they had to bug out because of the fire. That's about the only time bugging out is practical. Edgar Cortez said, I've never had a bug out bag. My wife and I can evacuate quickly, but like John Mandrick, I worry about my kitties. Well, throw them in the car. If you're going to be taken off by a vehicle, throw them in the car. They might be a little upset, but they'll better to be alive. So throw them bitches in the car. If you got a truck, make sure you got a cage. I have a big old cage out there in the storage, out there in the building that I can throw in the back of the truck, and it just hooks on with some little clips. And I can throw, all 4 of our animals could fit in it easily because it fills the whole back end of the bed. So make sure you got stuff like that. And make sure it's covered with a tarp or something in case it's cooler out. You need to keep the wind and the rain off of them. It's just something to do if you got a truck. Because if I bugged out, the vehicle I'm taking is the truck. Because that thing is all-wheel drive. And it'll go through anything. It's a little lifted. It's got like a 3 or 4 inch lift in it. And will go through anything. I've had that thing into mud up to the running boards. And it just keeps going. So that's what I'd be using. John and Mandrick says, I also think people pack too much of mostly useless items. Yeah, I do see a lot of that. A lot of them pack like stuff like they think they're going to be on a comfort camping trip, like they're going glamping. And I'm like, you don't need all your little utensils and all this other stuff. Eat with your fucking fingers. You don't need all that stuff. If you got room for it, great, but it's extra weight you're going to be carrying. You're not going to need all of it. Food you find, eat with your hands. If food you got, make sure it's something you can eat easily, like bars and stuff that, don't require a lot of effort, because you don't want to have to set up camp if you don't have to. Like if it's a 12-hour walk for you to get home, you want to walk for 12 hours. Stopping somewhere and setting up camp just greatly increases your chance of being a victim. Paul B said, Hail Phil, a plan of action with secondaries. Well, everyone should have a plan of action, especially if your family's not always in the same place at the same time and say something happens bad. Well, you should have plans that say, hey, if the family is out and there's a natural disaster, where's somewhere that you can meet up to, that they can get to, that you can get them and get them home. Or if you're bugging out, have a place where you're all going to bug out too if you're at different places when it happens. You got to have plans like that. I know where you're going. Like we know where we're going. I ain't telling you because I don't want you all coming there. But Andrew Avila says, my get home bag is good. My bug out tub has everything except my medication. My tub also has to support my wife and 82-year-old mom. Well, you might have to make some sacrifices. I'm sure your mother would understand that if she became old lady stew at some point. But, that's a sacrifice. What parent wouldn't gladly become an entree for their children in a natural disaster? Some people are selfish. So our meds will be last thing in the tub. Yeah, meds is important. A lot of people forget their medication. Your high blood pressure doesn't go away just because you're on the run. Or if you're out somewhere, like say if you need medication every day and you're out somewhere trapped, well, you need to have that with you at least a certain day or two of it so that you can have time to get home before you start suffering symptoms. So yeah, your medications are very important. And Porthos brings up less specific medications. Just say pharma, Advil, Benadryl, etc. Yeah, a lot of people forget that. Benadryl, very important. Just plain old aspirin, very important. Antibiotics, if you can get them, very important. A lot of times, though, if you can't find a way to get human antibiotics, you can get farmers antibiotics, stuff that's for animals, and all you got to do is change the dosage, and there's like guides that'll tell you like how to change the dosage, like cut the pill into 5 pieces instead of 1, and use it. So that's something to look into. And remember, antibiotics have a shelf life. They don't last forever. But, even when they're like, this is expired, that usually means they've lost like 10 to 15% of their effectiveness. It's better to have one that's several years old, but still 50% effective than have nothing. So do your research. Go Shadow says, bug out bags should have hand grenades. Well, most of us don't have hand grenades. I mean, I wouldn't mind having some hand grenades, but I don't got no hand grenades. We got one more person weighing in here, and that is Daniel Pennant. And he said, all kits can have a get home bag, bug out bag. I just follow Dave Canterbury's 10 C's. Cotton for packing and TQs are most important in my opinion. That is something important. Yes, I would say. Johnny Mandrick also chimed in here. So we got one other person weighing in, and he said, probably in the Pacific Northwest, keep kindling and maybe a fireplace log to make fires. It's wet and not as people think, not as easy as people think. Well, I bet he was trying to say there. Yeah, it's not as easy to start a fire as you think. One of the things I always tell people to make sure they do have for a fire, it's nice to have a fire starter. I definitely have those in multiple places. I have them in every car, and I got them in my bag. The little magnesium or whatever it is ones, the scrape, spark. Those ones are pretty good. Also, magnifying glass. You'll be surprised how useful a magnifying glass could be in starting a fire. If it's there. If it's not going to be as good. But also don't underestimate a Bic lighter. How much good you can do with a Bic lighter. Find some, like a dead tree, pull off some of the bark of the dead wood, and Bic lighter and get you started. Also, some cotton balls with Vaseline, the stuff on them that help make them burn. Stuff like that. Just a little bag of them, a little Ziploc bag of cotton balls soaked in the stuff like chapstick, stuff that burns, just like a little fire starter. And that looks like that's it for us today for this portion. We will be doing the America Guns and Freedom podcast here in just a moment. So stick around, and we're going to be doing all the drawings in between. So definitely stick around for that if you're entered into any of the drawings for last month. Otherwise, that's it for Shooting the Ship today. How about you people out in YouTube land? What do you think? What's missing from most get home bags or bug out bags? Put it in the comment section below. If you want to weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to one of our live chats. We do them every day at 6 p.m. With that being said, thanks to everyone that did show up and did participate and kept the conversation going. It is appreciated. I hope to see y'all again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.